Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon Wound Pickups.
Hey everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We are thrilled to death that you are listening to our show, the Guitar Knobs podcast. Yes, that's right. It is the happy fun time guitar show. I just threw that in there this time. It's a one-time only thing.
Limited edition.
We've got a great show for you guys tonight, and we are excited to be talking with each other because we don't get to see each other, and it's a real drag. But Tony, may I ask you to inform our lovely guests, what do we do on this show?
Well, we like to talk about gear. We like to talk about the people that make the gear. And we like to talk about boutique gear specifically. And that would include things like guitars and amps and pedals and accessories and all sorts of fun things related to musical enjoyment.
Perfect. Well done.
And we like to get the story behind the story. Yes. And occasionally we'll run a 101, one of Jared's favorites.
I love the 101 learning ones.
Yes, and tonight Tony is going to have to, it's going to be tough, but he's going to have to modify his normal stage voicing that he typically does. Tony can project quite well. We've got an awesome show because this gentleman is visiting us tonight. Gentlemen, who are you?
My name is Santa Claus, and I'm about to augment your Christmas.
Nice.
I am Nick from Dirty Haggard Audio.
Right on. Nick Rogers from Dirty Haggard Audio. We are thrilled that you are on the show tonight.
Yeah.
Do you go by Saint Nick?
Yeah, or Mr. Rogers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you got both of those covered.
What about Paul Rogers?
Wow, you got it all.
Yeah. So let's just make sure that everybody who's listening right now has the opportunity to check out your wares. Where can they find you on the internet right now?
You could go directly to the website at dirtyhaggard.com, or what is the Instagram handle is at Dirty Haggard Audio.
That's right. And that's Haggard, Haggard. Haggard. Could you use that in a sentence, please?
As in Merle Haggard?
Tony, holy crap.
I get a lot of that. I get a lot of Merle Haggard.
Yeah.
People are always saying that.
Well, I doubt that that's the case. Is it? You're not related, right?
Not in the slightest, no.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Not a Noki from Muskogee.
Yes. All right, enough with the Merle Haggard references. Let's get on with the show, shall we, gentlemen? We've got a couple of announcements real quick. We need to say thank you to Rode Mics for their awesome Rodecaster Pro console that we use. We love this thing. You know that. We say it every week. We couldn't do the show without it, or it would just be very hard to hear us yelling from our homes to yours.
That's true.
And also the Procaster mic, these indestructible, don't quote me on that. I'm not liable for if it destructs, but you probably won't. But anyways, they're really solid, and they have been helping us out for quite some time, and also with the latest awesomeness that we were able to give away. So we also need to start hearing from Nick here real soon. What's going on in our music world this week, guys? Tony, you lead us off, and Nick's going to follow up.
Sure. Well, I think when last we spoke, I was talking about labeling my guitar cases with the Dymo M1011 industrial labeler.
Yes.
So we've all used those little Dymo machines that had the little plastic tape and
oh my gosh, man, those are old school.
Oh, it's total old school. Well,
it's cool,
as we talked about, I found a used unit for a very good price, and I started labeling my guitar cases with this aluminum self-adhesive tape. And I think they look really good. I mean, because I've used everything from, just duct tape or gaffer's tape with, writing on them with a Sharpie. and those inevitably fall off. So I'm going to see how these do, but I think it's definitely a step up from where I was. So as time goes by, we'll see how they stick on, but it works out so much better now. I actually forgot about some of the things that I had on the racks. And as I was opening up cases, I said, "Oh, that's where that went." So that's what I spent part of my day today doing. And my hand is very tired from it, so I couldn't do all of my guitars, but I got a good chunk of it done.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Tony, king of the serial updates. Nick, why don't...
Can we talk about Summer NAMM now?
Yeah. Nick, what's going on in your music world, man?
Well, so today was my last day working before who knows how many furlough weeks. And I recently just got a non-functioning Fender Super 60 amp from someone on Craigslist. So what's new in my world is that I get to spend the next week building myself a tube amp from scratch out of the remains of that amplifier.
Very cool.
Yeah, I am absolutely stoked.
That's awesome. May I ask what
I'm
you
not
do
familiar
right now?
with
I'm an electronics technician at a place that makes really high-end audio analyzers.
Holy moly. You're just swimming in this stuff.
Indeed.
Tony?
So I'm not real familiar with that model of amp. Is it a newer one, or is it obviously it's tube based, but
I think it's like 1993 or 4 or something like that.
That sounds delicious.
I'm going to have to look that one up.
Yeah, apparently, like the reviews. I mean, I got it non-functioning, so I was never able to really try it. But all the reviews that I read said that it was kind of lacking in tone. And looking at the schematic, you can see a few points where it's like, things just don't quite make sense from a good tone perspective. So, I don't know.
I'd probably be able to verify that if it was in front of me.
Yeah, I'm sure you could. Yeah, why don't you touch either side of the the high voltage
I
section.
would just touch my tongue to it to see if it's still got, juice.
That's right, the 9-volt test. You do the 9-volt test inside the amp.
Well, that's really cool, man. You're going to have to post up. I hope you post up stuff about that. I'd like to follow that along.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'll probably wait until it's actually done and working, because otherwise I'll lead a bunch of people on, and then I'll just have a big pile of ashes to show them at the end.
Excellent. Jared, what's going on with you, bud?
So something quite exciting for me, and finally it doesn't have anything to do with the pickup world that I'm, drenched in every day, which I thoroughly enjoy. But so the first band I was in when I was a teenager, I worked with my buddy Mike, and his little brother Mark played bass. Mike played some guitar, and Mike wrote music. And
sounds like a Bryan Adams song.
Exactly. He's a really good songwriter. He's got a lot of music that he's written over the years, and lyrics and whatnot. He's a really good songwriter. He's really good at putting lyrics to music and stuff. But anyway, he's been putting his ideas on his iPhone. And if everybody hadn't figured it out yet, I'm not an iPhone guy, but he's using, or an Apple guy at all, but he's using an app called GarageBand. And if you have ideas, that's a really good app, because he gets an orchestra in there. He's got the bass, the guitar. He's got all these effects. It's a really cool thing. So to make a long story longer, he called me up. He's like, "Hey man, you got to get this app. You got to do this, and I'll send you stuff, and you can start putting guitar to it like I used to 20 years ago." So he started doing that, and I've been kind of using this other program on my PC, but I can't see all the individual tracks, so I decided to break down and buy an Apple product. So I bought an iPad.
Yay,
I did an iPad. I got an iPad,
Jared.
So I mean, I could start collaborating with my friend again, and that I've been doing this since I was a teenager, and I finally get to do it again, and it might get me playing more. I don't know. So that is really, really exciting for me. And it's kind of getting us closer again and kind of rekindling that old times kind of feeling. I mean, we're not going to go out and do gigs, but just being able to collaborate on files and mix things, and it just feels really good. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that.
I think you should go do gigs.
I can't. We could. I mean, we could actually get the original band.
No,
together.
you can't.
We could
You can't.
later on after all this crap goes away.
After the plague.
Yeah.
Yeah, after the plague. Yeah. After
Well,
we're deaf.
You're going to enter a world of awesomeness with one of those iPads, man. So
Yeah, it's a feeling I haven't had. I'm so excited about it. It really means a lot to me being able to do stuff with him again.
that's cool. That's good.
That's nice.
Nice to hear
That's
that.
nice.
And that's about it.
All right.
No Summer Nam.
Slipped it in there. Let's see. For
How
me,
about you, Todd?
Yeah, you always wait until I say for me. I have to say it.
Of course.
I have to bring myself flowers. So I'm
bridesmaid, never a bride.
exactly. I am trapped in my house as we all are, but I have to do video conferencing and calls all day long. I run a team of people, and I'm chained to it. And so I decided, you know what? I'm in this office, and I've got most of my guitars in here hanging up, looking at me, going like, "Dude, come on, play me." And so I just figured, you know what? I'm going to use the old mute button a whole bunch. And so I've been, it's been very interesting because I just decided, you know, I'm not going to sit there and try to play songs because then I'll be distracted and I'm not being a good leader for the people that are asking me things. But what I am doing, because it's sort of mindless a little bit, is I'm just taking each one and just doing little unplugged scale thing, you know, just you know, but I'm doing it on the bass, I'm doing it on acoustic, I'm doing it on tele, I'm just going down the line, and they feel all very different, of course. It's kind of fun, actually. I think something that I'm starting to feel fatigue from is just motionlessness.
Yeah.
You know, so at least that's getting my hands, and you know, whether I'm standing up or sitting down. And by the way, anybody that actually does listen from work, which I think there are a few people, I am 100% engaged in listening. I'm able to hold a guitar and listen at the same time. So, anyways, that's been kind of nice. That's my thing. Boom.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the floor.
All right, Nick Rogers from Dirty Haggard Audio. Let's hear your 4 on the floor.
Okay, so 3 of these I actually just got very recently, but they're brilliant and I absolutely love them. So number 1, the most recent, is the optical ring from Audio Disruption Devices.
Ooh.
Actually, so the reason I have it is he posted on his Instagram to other builders, "Hey, do you want to do a trade?" And I was like, yeah. And so basically I just said, I want something that sounds effed up. And he's like, "Do you want this?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." So yeah, it's a ring modulator and a fuzz pedal and a tremolo, all in one, plus more when you start fiddling with it. It's really F-wording cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You know, maybe if you want to figure out like a code word for that, you know, like taco or something.
It's really taco cool.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah. This pedal is better than like 4 chicken tacos, I swear. And he gave me the custom like beat up version, so it literally looks like it's been on tour for probably 30 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's
cool.
gnarly. It's great.
Do you typically play with ring modulator kind of thing, or?
So when I do record, this will come back around with number 4.
Okay.
When I do recording, I do a lot of overdubs and like lead parts with the most like messed up sounding equipment I can find, because like when you layer it with like a really good tone, I just think it makes the sound like it just pops. It just sounds so like dense and unique. So yeah, it's like it's one of those like you pull it out on occasion for accent parts. But generally when I play, it's usually just through in like in a really aggressive fuzz pedal.
Nice. It's like Frank's Red Hot.
Yeah, or Sriracha maybe.
Yeah. Cool. What did you get for number 2?
Number 2 is it's a collaboration between Transmutation Devices and Pepper's pedals. It's called the Satanist. It's like the most tastefully tuned metal pedal that I have ever come across. Like normally for metal pedals, the gain is just it's like at 120 at all times, and you can't do anything about it. But this one, like even at maximum gain, you can still it's just great sounding. It doesn't sound over the top. It doesn't sound like it's trying to do anything. I don't know, metal, I guess.
Yeah.
It just sounds great. So yeah, for like rhythm tones, for like heavy palm muting and stuff, it's just really, really chunky.
It should be called One Less Black.
Okay.
Or not. No, it's the title, it's great the way it is. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Don't change a thing.
Remove your marketer hat.
Yeah. How about number 3?
Number 3. Okay, so that's another trade. I got this from Dan from Spun Loud Effects in Seattle. It's called the Blister and Peel. It's 2 like low mid. What am I saying? It's 2 pedals in one. Basically, they're both kind of low to mid gain fuzz pedals. So you can get a lot of really cool like overdrivey kind of sounds out of it. But then if you activate both of them at once, particularly with the front end one with all knobs on maximum, it just gives you that like absolutely perfect torn speaker fuzz sound. So yeah, it's another like absolutely amazing recent find.
Dude, so you've already dropped 2 that I'm not familiar with, Spun Loud and we're just really, I know you just said it. Sorry, my brain's mush after a hard day. What was the one that the pedal right before this one?
The Satanist by Transmutation Devices, Pepper's pedals.
Pepper's pedals. That's okay. So I'm all right. We'll follow up with these guys and see what's up with them. That's cool. That's what this is about. I love hearing new stuff that I'm not familiar with. And maybe everybody else is, and I'm just a late bloomer. Apple product.
Yeah, I've been finding a lot of really small local builders they're just doing really, really cool stuff. It's great. I've been networking as much as possible lately. So.
Fantastic. All right,
Nice.
Last one.
Okay, so this one, going back to what I was saying about using the most like gnarly, screwed up sounding pedals while recording. So everyone hates this pedal. Everybody. It's the Digitech RP, X. I have the 50. A lot of people have like 55 and 100 or whatever. But yeah, the Digitech RP50. It's like a million different digital effects in one. It sounds god awful if you play it by itself, but it's just got these really cool like octave sounds, and it's all digital, so you can play chords, and it doesn't have any tracking issues. And so like the last industrial noise metal album that I recorded, that's doing like so much overdubs, just because mixing it with like really proper sounding rhythm guitars, it just you get like the great like tube rhythm sound, and then you have this strange digital like quirky sound on the top of it, and they separate themselves in the mix so brilliantly.
I have an RP 500 I bought about, I don't know, so many years ago. I actually used out and gigged with it because I did top 40 stuff, so I needed all the effects known to man, and that thing did a really good job. I mean, yeah, I had no pure sound by any means, but it did the job.
It's got a lot of really, really cool sounds in it.
Yeah, it has all the sounds.
I smell a trade coming. He's going to
Actually,
run one of those into another.
I actually used it. I kind of used it for this to lay down a track actually yesterday. So yeah,
Nice.
That's hilarious, Jared. You've got like $20 million worth of really good equipment, and the first chance you get to
I use
put
my
something
old
on tracks,
thing.
use the crappiest thing you can get your hands on.
I have. Well, yeah, I've got the really expensive auxes, right? But you have to plug them all in, and you got to bring a big amp over. I just grabbed this in the power cord, plugged it in, skipped through a bunch of effects to find the best sounding one, and I was ready to go. And it was really easy to use. And I mean, it's just an idea anyway. So, but yeah, if we actually go to record the real deal, of course I'll get the good ones out.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right. That's a very interesting 4 on the floor. I must say, those are all 4 that have never been on before. That's good.
I'm going to pat myself on the back for that.
Yeah, especially the RP model.
By the way, speaking of 4 on the floor, as we transition out of this, I got another. I'm so thrilled that people have liked the 4 on the floor, and are interested in all the pedals and everything, to the point where we had one fella that basically put in all of the information into a spreadsheet. We went over that. We had a whole episode where we went over that. So we had this guy. His name is just in case that there's any weird legal stuff or whatever, I won't mention his last name, but his first name is Todd, like me. And he said, "Hey,
is it Rundgren?"
Yes, it's Rundgren." So this guy calls up, he sends me an email. He's like, I really am interested in the 4 on the floor, the data. And I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. And so we got to talking, and he's basically a data visualist, as far as I can understand it. And turns out we worked at one of the same companies before, which will remain nameless right now.
Yeah.
So he said, "Hey, I'd love to see what happens when I kind of plug all that data in." And I was like, "Yeah, man, have at it." So it's really cool. Like, hey, if you want to maybe do something with this data, I guess hit me up, because everybody else is. But it would be really neat if we could actually get something out of this that was in some way useful to someone. So there you have it. How about that?
Maybe you could have like a graphical painting based on the data,
or a poster.
A poster.
I'd be willing to do that.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Maybe it's just something cool that gets put up on the internet. And he goes, "That's really cool. Glad you put it on the internet." All right. We are going to transition into some awesome interviewing stuff. But I want to say thank you to John Finnell, who has been housing us and our gear over at Relay Recording for, since, December?
A long time.
Yeah.
A mighty long time. And
for
it's
sure.
awfully nice of him to do that.
Indeed. John
great
is
guy.
a producer and recording engineer, and is eager to record you and produce you, mix you, and master you. He's great at getting guitar tone, because he is a guitarist himself, and I know this through personal experience. I'm thrilled to death. I'm thrilled to death with it. I'm thrilled to death.
He can also, I'm told, get good bass tone and drum tone and even vocal tone.
All the tones. He's exceptional.
All
at
the
that.
tones.
Yeah. So if you are interested in upping your tonal game as you're going into recording, or just need somebody to talk to, you got johnfintel.com. That's JONFINTEL.com at relayrecording.com. And they're right here in Columbus. But he does travel, so hit him up. Okay. Mr. Nick. What are we going to talk about here? We're going to talk about you. Dirty Haggard Audio is what we're talking about. You make some pedals that make some pretty mean noise, and they're very cool looking, I might add.
Ooh, thank you.
We are looking at the Demonic Percolator right now, which is in a sparkly black case, which I'm a fan of sparkle, and I'm a fan of black, so ding ding. We got a little vulture guy clawing a head. Like it's almost like if anybody remembers the old from old Thrasher days and stuff, Pusshead did some amazing artwork. He was behind a lot of the early Metallica artwork and everything. And that's what that reminded me of right away. I was like, oh, that looks kind of familiar. But anyways, so you are an electric engineer guy, right?
Technician.
Technician. What's the difference?
The engineer actually designs the circuit. The technician troubleshoots and repairs the circuit, basically.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of background in this stuff.
All very recent, but cumulatively, I guess so.
Tony, you're an electric engineer, right?
No,
Oh,
not by any stretch.
I'm just checking.
I started off life as a mechanical engineer.
That's
but then
completely different.
That was a completely different thing.
Yeah,
but
I was just checking. But maybe you were.
Then I changed my major.
Yes. So how did you, obviously you've got interest in that field. You have been a musician for a long time?
Yeah, more than half my life now.
How did you get started in that?
In music in general or pedals? Kind of funny story. I guess when I was young, I was exposed to primarily country music. I grew up in northern Wisconsin. And one day I just happened across a Marilyn Manson music video. And I was like, oh, no. And basically I turned into like, the angsty teen like the next day. And so I kind of just got into like Manson and Nine Inch Nails and all this like really heavy industrial stuff. And then I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I just started asking my parents for a guitar. And so I think it was like my 13th it was Christmas. I think it was like my 13th year Christmas. My parents just handed me a bass and I was like, oh, cool. Now I'm a musician. Yeah, and then I started trying to like write my own music and stuff. I figured out how to hook two cassette decks up to one another and like do overdubs and all that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then eventually I went to college for music production, which was a massive waste of time and money, but still learned a lot of really cool stuff. Just could never find any work doing it. And then, I don't know, after 4 or 5 years of being a warehouse worker, I decided to go back to school for electronics and immediately got a job. So, yeah.
Now, when you started getting into that, that's a big jump from going, hey, I'm a musician and I like electronics too, I'm going to start building pedals. So where'd that progression come in?
I've just always really loved music. And so as soon as I started learning electronics, I got really curious as to whether or not I could, put my own circuits together that would actually like make cool sounds. And so, it's kind of a running theme among builders. Like, you find a schematic online and you're like, ooh, I can put a transistor in a breadboard. So I tried that one day. I put together a Fender blender and it just worked like straight away. And then basically, 4 months later, I was starting a business.
Wow. Now, after that first pedal, I mean, like, did you take that and did you immediately say, cool, well, this is good? I mean, I know that you started a business, so I can gather the progression, but why don't you walk us through how you go from plugging in something to a breadboard to now you're starting a pedal company?
I don't really know how to describe it other than perhaps like irrationally skipping 1,000 steps and just diving into it. That's literally what I did, though. I put together the Fender blender and like a big muff, and then I got to the Shinai Companion, which is the basis for the first pedal that I released. And I figured out how to, fix a bunch of things that I thought were subpar about the original circuit. Like I added a noise gate because the original circuit was just, it screamed at you just nonstop with hiss. And so
that's one of the first. That's a really early pedal.
Oh yeah. It's like 1970s, I think.
Yeah.
60s or 70s. Yeah, and so like I figured out how to make it, to my standard, what I felt was good, and I showed it to a couple people, and they thought it was great too. And so I was like, okay, I don't want to have a boss, so I'm going to start my own business.
Well, that's what Tony and Jared did.
Potentially.
We don't need no boss, man.
So what was the first pedal that you put together? Aside from the, you talked about the Fender Blender and these other ones.
Yeah.
Your first real pedal, the company pedal.
The first company pedal. So it is that Shinai pedal, the companion fuzz, except it's with all the modifications that I made to it. So it is pretty strongly based on that original pedal, but it's much louder. It's got a much lower noise floor, and like the gain structure is, in my opinion, much. It makes a lot more sense. The original one, it basically had two transistors like out of phase going into either side of a pot, and I was like, that's stupid. Why don't I put this pot before both of those stages?
Worked.
Yeah, and it worked, and it sounded cool. And so I was like, all right,
Excellent.
I guess I'm going to be Dirty Haggard Audio because people will think that that's eye-catching or whatever.
Can I ask you a quick question? This is the thing that fascinates me. And I don't know that I articulate it when I'm talking with the guests, but you said, well, that's dumb. Why don't I just do this? And you said, I'm going to put the pot in front of that. How is that something that you figure out through your electric experience, or how do you get to that?
Yeah. Because I had from the class I was just in, I could tell you that the first transistor stage inverts the signal 180 degrees out of phase, and then the second one does the exact same thing. It kind of undoes what the first one did. And the output for both of those transistors was going into either side of a potentiometer. And I just thought that was stupid because in the center of that potentiometer, like they're just fighting with each other.
Mm.
And so I was like, well, all that's going to do is reduce volume and gain. So let's get that out of there.
It's interesting that a pedal that early that, now if you try to buy one of those on the market or something, it's like, boy, reach deep into your pocket.
Oh yeah.
Could be built in such a way that it's like, well, that's kind of wacky. Why does that even work? How did it gain the acclaim that it has or last as long? Obviously many pedals came after that who probably realized, hey, I can do this better. But it's just so interesting when people put a lot of importance or monetary weight into something that doesn't sound good or isn't built well, or
And there's a lot out there. Yeah.
I think like the trend that I feel it like happened when fuzz pedals and all that were first being designed is basically like make it sound broken with as few parts as possible. And I think that's kind of where that came from.
Well, that's an interesting theory. I don't think we've heard that one. So there you go. Knowledge has been dropped. I like it. So you've taken it to the extreme because your pedals are all about like you're trying to make a car wreck in a box.
Yeah, with as little noise as possible. That's kind of like a key element to everything I'm doing. I want it to be ridiculously high gain, but have as little noise as is humanly possible.
How does one go about doing that?
Ooh, noise gates. They're my favorite thing in the world.
So internal noise gates.
Yeah. It's really cool what you can do with just a couple resistors inside of a transistor-based circuit.
Most people aren't mentioning that. So did you look around and go, why isn't anybody doing this? Am I the only one doing this? Are other people? Maybe I just don't know that many other people are doing that.
I don't see that many people doing it, honestly. I think a lot of people. So, I mean, I've got about 12 years of like amateur recording behind me, and like the bane of my existence on every single session was like background noise, because I was using really terrible cheap equipment and bedrooms and garages. So there's just always noise everywhere. And after so many years of dealing with that, it became one of those things, one of those like pet peeves that I just couldn't deal with at all. Like just hearing any hiss, I'm just instantly like, oh no, you didn't. And so yeah, I just every time I had something breadboarded, I was like, all right, what can I do here? Where can I insert these diodes or these resistors to kill this so I don't have to hear it?
Nice.
And I think a lot of other people, they're just like, it's a dirt box, it's going to make noise. Which, I mean, I love that attitude. It's so punk rock. But I'm just one of those people who really latches onto something and gets really furious about it. And so I can't let it go.
Why don't we talk about some of your pedals, since we just kind of mentioned like all these car wrecks in a box and stuff. So we've got the demonic percolator in front of us. Tell us about that one. Okay,
so that one is that one's the latest official release. Everyone is doing a version of the percolator, but what I noticed when I was doing,
and can you just really quick, Nick? Can you explain? So when you're saying everybody's doing a percolator, give us a little bit of background on the percolator.
Okay, yeah. So the Interfax harmonic percolator, it was made by, as far as I know, as far as all the stories say, it's made by one person in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They were apparently like just super rare. I can't remember. I don't know if all of what I've read is accurate or not, but a lot of like the lore behind it is basically like they were kind of custom made or made in like really tiny batches. It's always done with a high gain NPN silicon transistor and a lower gain PNP germanium, and they're kind of stacked on top of each other in like this weird crossover distortion kind of way. And so then, like Steve Albini's name comes up every single time the percolator comes up, because apparently he used them on a few of his band's like major records. So there's just like a lot of like lore behind it, and they were super rare. And so of course, it's a rare piece of equipment. Everyone wants it.
Sure. How about the sound signature?
So yeah, it's really mid-range heavy. Even with the mid-scoop circuit that I put in it, it's like super, super mid-range heavy. And it's got, I don't know how to really describe it in terms that make sense to other people, but I think it sounds like flat. So it's just got this like, again, I don't know how to make this make sense to other people, but I describe it as like a flat, sterile sound, but in a good way. And so, yeah, it's like just really, really mid-range heavy and like flat sounding. It doesn't have a lot of like really bright tones.
Interesting.
At least not the ones that I've played around with. Yeah, and then so when I was prototyping, first of all, I just wanted to build one for myself, and then when I got it finished, I just fell in love with it, and I was like, okay, I should probably just make this for my business. But one of the problems I was having is that there's no way I could make just the original circuit and have it not have like a clean to noise ratio of like 2-to-1. Like it was just insanely noisy, no matter what I did. And so I basically had to put on my proverbial thinking cap and figure out how to build in 2 noise gates into one circuit, which is a first. And then just, figure out how to make it basically spit fire at you. Yeah. So yeah, I added a clean boost into the front end of that one, the demonic percolator one. that goes right into like the more or less standard demonic percolator topology. And then it goes through the second noise gate. The first noise gate is like right in the first clean boost stage. And then it goes through like a modified big muff tone stack. I'm kind of realizing at this point that I may have made it a little bit too restrained, but I wanted it to kind of be like a fine tune. But yeah, anyway, it goes through the tone stack.
That's a good way to describe it, I would say, because it doesn't. I think it. And Tony, Tony and I, and well, we all played them, but
Yeah.
That didn't have a ginormous range of tone. So I think the fine tuning thing is a good thing to point out.
Yeah. I mean, I know, like I've got a few pedals where it's just got the one tone knob, and you go a little bit too far one way, and it's just pure bass, and a little bit too far the other way, and it's pure treble.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted it to be like the center, like 30% of a standard, like big muff style tones.
Well, and that would be maintaining the original percolator, DNA right there to a certain degree.
Yeah. It keeps it like, it gives it that same fundamental sound no matter where you have the tone knob. So yeah, it goes through that tone stack, and then it goes through like an output boost, because the original output volume was a little bit low. And that's it.
Nice. And what do you think, like, if someone picks this up, do you think this is particularly geared towards a specific kind of music or instrument?
So I've gotten a lot of like really interesting feedback from it. Some bass players say that it's absolutely amazing. Some doom metal players are like, I can't use this. So I think if you play some kind of like psychedelic, or I guess maybe like lo-fi stoner type music, it's probably really good for you. I don't know who plays like a standard percolator, who likes that sound. I think it's got a lot of random applications, just maybe not as a lot of people's primary sound.
That's a fair way to put it. Very democratically said. You've got the DH2 Death Fuzz distortion pedal.
So that's the one I was talking about a minute ago, the Shinai one.
If someone's looking at this, what can they expect from it? And again, I think, what do you think that this would lend itself well to?
So yeah, that one you can expect. You can expect basically complete signal destruction. It's great. I love it so much. It rolls off. It rolls off a lot of low end. It's basically got a ridiculously aggressive like high pass filter and a mid cut, like all at once. And so you get a lot of mid scoop. You get this tiny little bump in the low end, and then you just get a lot of high mids and highs. And so it's kind of like a buzzsaw sound. Not too much like the HM2 kind of buzzsaw, but like the fuzz version. And yeah, so it's just really cutting and aggressive. And I don't know. I think it's great. Anytime you just want to be like really trebly and like obnoxious, any kind of application,
like Jared,
you want that for.
Trebly and obnoxious.
That's me.
So you got some really cool artwork on this too. I'm a fan of this one. Actually, I think this is the first one when I saw your one of your posts on Instagram. I was like, whoa, wait, what's this here? This is cool.
It's my favorite artwork.
Big giant Haggard tooth skull with like rays behind it. It's really cool. Are you doing the artwork on these?
I'm not. So I went on like a week-long hunt for a local artist, and
awesome.
Literally the only person I found who had like as one of their pieces something that looked evil. She just turned out to be like one of the coolest people, and honestly one of the best artists that I've ever like known. So yeah, I found one single person, and they turned out to be like the person. I think her website is churchofsimontology.com. Her name is Simon.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but she's a graphic designer. Like that's her primary job, and then she does contract work on the side, and yeah, it's perfect. This is
great.
I give her
good stuff.
Yeah, I give her a directive and she throws this at me and I'm like, oh my God, that's 10 times better than I thought.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, now everybody's intrigued, if nothing else, huh? All right.
Exactly. How about the torsion?
Yes.
Torsion, yeah. So that's completely original design. And I'm really stoked because a lot of people seem to like that. So that kind of, I don't know, it gives me that feeling of validation, that cozy feeling. It's just basically 2 transistors, and then that goes into a LM386 power amp chip. Used in all kinds of different like fuzz and distortion circuits, but I've never really seen it, I guess, as like the output stage of like a several stage fuzz pedal. I'm sure that there's plenty of designs that do that. I just don't know about them. But yeah, so it's 3 gain stages. What I think is a really cool and simple tone stack that allows a lot of variability. Can do like really aggressive mid scooping and then all the way up to mid boost.
Well, and to be clear, you don't really have a tone knob on this. It just says mids, and then there's tilt.
Yeah, so the tilt is like bass treble. And so yeah, it kind of breaks it into 2 things. You can have like mid-range heavy, and then you can have bass heavy or treble heavy, or
That's one of those things that I think you're very clever here, because if it just said like bass and treble and mids, I'm not saying it would feel uninteresting, but it's certainly more interesting that you're like, tilt, I need that.
Actually, that was like, I was going to just write tone there, but then I was
so
like,
glad you didn't.
Yeah. I was reading some documentation and someone called it tilt. And I was like, oh, I guess that's what the proper name is. I should probably use that.
Yeah.
I like it.
And then this also has this awesome globe in the middle. Tell us about that.
Ooh, I just like, I guess, big flamboyant lights. And so I was like, well, I should probably insert that right dead center into this guy.
It's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's neat, and it's a slightly bigger format.
Yeah, what is it?
I can't remember the actual number of the box, but
1590
double B.
1590 double B. That's what Tony is.
I was just going to say that.
Oh boy. So what can people expect from that when they plug in and they're ready to go? What are you going to hear?
So when I first made it, like I wanted it to be basically like a what's the cliched terminology, like the switch, what is it? Damn it. The Swiss Army knife, that's what it is. So I wanted it to be useful for pretty much anything that you wanted to do with a fuzz pedal, which is why I made the tone controls as they are. So because I know a lot of people like the vintage sound where it's just like gain and volume, and it's just kind of like more or less a flat frequency response. And then I play a lot of metal, and so I love the scoop mid sound, so I wanted that to be in there. So yeah, I basically had like as many. I wanted it to be applicable for as many styles as is possible.
Mm-hmm.
But I also wanted it to be just absolutely like gnarly, and of course, low noise.
That goes without saying.
Yeah, we know that about you now.
So what else? Do you have any other goodies coming up that you've been working on?
So the last one that I kind of did like an unofficial release. It's called a 3904, named obviously after the transistor. It's just a one knob fuzz. I was just playing around one day and I was like, oh, that's cool. And so like I've kind of, you have to hit me up like directly if you want one. It's I think I've sold like 3 or 4.
It's a top secret one.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not specifically special in any real way. It's just the standard, like, here's a usable fuzz and it's super silent. But yeah, so upcoming things. There's another local builder in Portland, another guy named Dan. There's like 30 of them I know now in the pedal community. So he does Blammo electronics.
Oh yeah, he's coming up on the show.
Wow, right on. Nice. Yeah, but we're doing a collaboration. I should have asked him if he wanted me to tell you what it is or not.
Ooh.
I don't know if I'm really at liberty to discuss.
Well,
what
keep it a
is for you.
secret. Yeah, that's okay.
It's a really awesome circuit. It is a clone. It's not really an original, but it's one of those clones that like no one does for some reason. And I've just had several people talk to me about it like longingly, like they really want it. And so I'm like, oh, all right, here you go.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. So he's doing all the enclosure, like artwork and all that stuff. And I got the task of creating the PCB for it. So that one's, and actually I screwed up the PCB. I accidentally transposed the gain and tone knobs. So, so I had to redo the PCB and send off for that. So that got delayed a few weeks. And then I'm working on a overdrive and compressor in one, specifically for bass players. I got a bass amp and it's just noisy and it doesn't have a good compressor in it. So I was like, well, why don't I just make my own? And then I was like, wait a minute. A lot of bass amps don't have compressors built into them. Why don't I create an overdrive with a compressor in it?
Boom.
And next you can make one that'll fit inside of the bass.
Ooh. Yeah. That's a good idea.
So is that in super early stages? Is it
Yeah, it's in LT Spice stage right now. So I've just done some simulating.
cool?
It's kind of a bear because I'm trying to split the signal so you can do two different like EQ things simultaneously. And anytime you add any reactive elements like capacitors or inductors, you get phase shift. And so then when you mix the signals back together, the result I get, specifically playing like a low B string on a 5-string, is that all of like the super low frequencies are just gone because of that phase cancellation. So yeah, there's lots of tweaking going on with all the values and all that.
I feel like if I was a bass player by trade or by choice or by most of your time by default, that sounds super interesting to me. I'm not a bass player, and it sounds super interesting. So if you are a bass player, you're gonna need to hit him up here and learn more about that. So can I ask right now, like, what is your main rig right now? I'm curious because you said you started out kind of with some bass stuff and you're creating all this noise. I'm just curious what you're actually playing right now.
Okay, so I've got two rigs right now. I've got the bass rig and then the guitar rig. So the bass rig is the one I actually like. I'm in a band playing out with that one. Of course, not now thanks to COVID.
Right.
So that one is that one's really simple. I don't like it sounds like sacrilege, right? I've always hated to have like a huge amount of pedals in front of me at one time. I don't even put my pedals on the floor. I rest them on top of the amp. So for the bass rig, I have a Damnation, Damnation Dual DIY. I forget the actual title of it. It's by Damnation Audio. It's a dual drive. It's basically like a really light overdrive on one side and then a rat pedal on the other side.
Oh.
And those two, like they've got separate gain controls, separate volume controls. They sum into one stage. And yeah, so that makes my bass sound like a freight train.
What kind of bass are you playing?
It's Ibanez Sound Gear, something or other.
I love how unspecific you are about your own gear. It's a I don't know. It's a bass.
I don't know. It's got some numbers, or letters, or whatever.
Yeah, Ibanez does that.
But yeah, that thing's great. I got that used just recently. I think it was like, 800 new, and I got it for like a third of that. So
Wow,
I'm like,
that's
I'm
good.
stoked.
Nice.
So yeah, and then my guitar rig is actually it's like a 3-watt DIY tube amp. I built it with a 12 AU7, like a low gain dual triode, and then just a single EL84 output.
So did you build that one, Nick?
I did, yeah. I found the schematic online. I wish I could remember what the actual what the circuit was. It was just so basic. I was like, I can't not build that. I've got the materials right here. There's literally like, I don't know, 15 components in it total.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I had the power transistor and the output transistor from a previous project that kind of got shelved. I didn't realize when I was buying the transformer that the high tension voltage rail was going to be 800 volts. And so when I found that out, I was like, oh, that's too much. That is not safe. So I kind of just shelved it for a while. And then eventually I realized I could use the center tap as like, instead of using like the 2 outside taps, I could just tie one of those off and use the center tap and have 400 volts. And so yeah, I was like, oh, okay, well, I should make a really simple single-ended amplifier. And so I found schematic online. It was like a nice starting point, made a couple just basic tone modifications to it and built it up in a couple days.
Nice.
Awesome.
It's really cool. It overdrives and you can still talk over it, which I love because I'm just playing in a small room with people in adjacent rooms. So it's not like, killing them with volume.
But you get all the good noise.
I do.
That's cool. I like that. Well, dude, I really appreciate you sharing your background and your, all the things that make up your awesome Dirty Haggard audio pedals. And I encourage everybody to make sure they go and check out those things. We have a little thing called Would You Rather right now.
That's right.
Jared?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to go to our favorite little thing on this show called Would You Rather?
Perfect.
All right. This week's Would You Rather is brought to us by a fan, and he actually sent this to me a few minutes ago because I went Facebook Live and I said, hey, I need a Would You Rather. And they obliged.
Excellent.
So
Jared's liking the Facebook Live right now, by the way.
I am because I'm trapped in the house.
Are you going to identify this person?
Yeah, my good friend Mike Belcher. And he's actually the one that I was talking about that I've known for a long time. We were in a band together and all that kind of thing.
All right. Well, hit us with it, man.
Would you rather see the Stones in their prime? So you're going to go to a Stones concert in their prime, and Tony, you probably know when the prime is. In fact, I mean, there's probably a decade or two of prime.
Well, I mean, I would say, early 70s Stones. That's probably.
You think?
Yeah.
What about 80s?
That.
Not
that's why he
early
said
80s?
the 70s.
Okay.
That's why I said the 70s.
Early 70s Stones. So you're going to go to a concert in early 70s Stones. Or
Do you get backstage passes?
Yes.
Okay.
You get all the good, yummy stuff.
T-shirt?
Probably. And a hat. But it's a trucker hat.
Oh.
Okay.
Or would you rather be at that house that Zeppelin was at when they recorded the song When the Levee Breaks? And that's a really cool recording because I believe they had Bonzo, the drummer,
In a hallway.
in a hallway in this house. And that's how they got that crazy sound from the drums.
I think I was like in like it was either a 2-story or 3-story foyer.
Mm-hmm.
That the sound was just bouncing all over in that entranceway.
Yeah. And they they had a portable recording studio truck that they used for a long time.
Yeah. So that's a good one. I think that's a very good one. Let's see here, Monsieur Jared, go.
Ooh,
Mixing it up.
Oh,
Mixing it
that's
up a little
tough. So here's the thing: you can go nuts and scream and dance and have a good time if you're at the concert,
Heartbreaker.
seeing the Stones, right?
Yeah.
But you have to be quiet and be kind of a fly on the wall if you're at the recording with Led Zeppelin. But I'm a big Led Zeppelin fan, so I'd rather be at the recording.
Okay. Excellent. Tony,
wow. I mean,
this is a hard one.
it really is. It's a tough choice because, while it is fun to be the, fly on the wall, as Jared said, I just think, seeing the Stones in their prime, man, that would just, I think I'm going to go with that option. I think it would be fun. I mean, I think the first time I saw the Stones was probably in the 80s. So I didn't ever have a chance to see them that early.
But they were probably super good back then anyway, right? Even in the 80s.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was still, what was it, like 81 was Tattoo You or whatever.
Yeah.
And, but some of my favorite stuff, I think, comes from late 60s, early 70s. So
Yeah.
I think that's, I'm going to go back. I'm going to do this at the Wayback Machine and go there. Plus,
Okay.
with the backstage passes, T-shirt, and trucker hat. I mean, how can you go wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get all that. Plus probably a few girls too, if that's your thing.
If that's your thing.
mean,
on that one, I knew I was like, there's no way we're getting out of this without Jared saying something like that. So Nick,
I know.
what would you do?
I would absolutely prefer being in the recording session. I love just watching the recording process, being involved with it, and I feel like that like nostalgia feeling when like you watch something being tracked and then years later you listen to it, you're just like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's so cool to me.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm torn. I have been spending a lot of time watching classic albums, the TV series. It's back on. I think it started out on VH1. I just watched the Number of the Beast classic album, and they got the guy with the board, and he's punching in. And he's like, "Oh, here's Nico," and and here comes Dave Murray, and you just see this track come to life, and it's awesome. And they talk about all the little nuances and how they got those things. So I find that super, super interesting. And then having recorded, there are things that I'm fascinated by as well. Now that said, the one that you're specifically talking about, Jared, is one of those like rare moments. Like that was capturing lightning in a bottle. Like there's no way they would have gotten that sound without it being right there at that time with those mics in that hallway.
So what's your choice, Todd?
I'm getting there.
Come on.
I'm getting there. I'm going with the Stones. because
I almost forgot what the heck we were doing.
well, it's okay. I would have liked to have been just rocking my brains out at an early Stone show instead, if I'm being honest. But I love the whole recording thing. I do. It's great.
You could sit next to me if you want.
I could. That would be great. In my head, I just did, and then I moved.
6 feet apart.
Yeah. Okay. So, guys, we've got a lot of people to thank here.
People are wondering how, in these desperate times, in these nasty, nasty times, people can help podcasts like this one, for instance. And we've been very fortunate. I think as we talked on last time, we had 3 new executive producers come on board. That's fantastic. If you're wondering how you might help us out, go over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs, and you can find out different levels in which you can participate and become a patron of this podcast. Each level comes with its own fine bevy of prizes and swag, if you will, of t-shirts and barefoot buttons and picks and stickers and all sorts of things. But there is the ones that are nearest and dearest to our hearts. And in addition to all that great stuff, Jared, what happens?
You get to have your name read on the thing.
Your name read on the thing. And that's what I'm going to do right now. Let's start with Tom Barazin, Martin Cliff, John Daly, Chris Kearney, Darren Gregory, Doug Christ, Michael Van Zant, Ken Sayers, Brian Robison, Michael Senchuk, Stefan Lamb, Johnny Knowles, Anthony Lathrop, John Anglin, Tyler Bray, Brad Partridge, Chris Heidel, John Esterly, Tim Nowak, Doug Gann, Justin Jones, Brett Alexander, James White, Matt Hart, James Pennington, Adam Johnson, Mark Garton, and Steve Keys. But wait, there's more, because just a little bit of a step up from the regular executive producer level, we have a group that we like to call our Grand Poobahs. So a tip of our old fezzes to our fellow Poobahs. That would include Jonathan Jerusik, Corey Nigro, David Kaminga, Cody Lane, Cody Foster, Sean S. Tommy Manasco. Thank you, each and every one of you. And if we haven't read your name and you participate through Patreon, we thank you too.
Well done, Tony. Thank you, one and all. We really, truly appreciate it. Nick Rogers, where can people find you again?
You can find me at Dirty Haggard Audio or on Instagram at Dirty Haggard Audio. And if you're on the website, you can use coupon code ORBIT, and you'll get 20% off.
Orbit.
Whoa.
20% off. That's fantastic, because these are already really well priced. So you're going to save a bundle and get an awesome pedal for less than a bundle. You can use that on your site if you want.
Less than a bundle, what? And can they order your special top secret pedal as well?
Oh, yes, you can. You'll have to direct message me, but yeah, if you're interested in a one knob fuzz that has super low noise floor, then yeah, hit me up.
That's very cool. We appreciate that, and I love it when builders are able to make a connection with the audience, and we are very thankful, man.
Yay.
Very exciting. Everybody, make sure you get on out there. Get one of those demonic percolators, or a death fuzz distortion pedal, or a torsion, or what the secret stuff that he has. You can hit him up. Go get it. It's 20% off. That's a great deal, especially now. Tony, where can people find you?
Let's just say you need a special pick guard for your special guitar. You're stuck inside your house and you've got all these projects building up, and you say, you know what? I need a new pick guard. Head over to pickguardian.com. See some of the things that I have as standard fare, but I do so much more than just that. It's sometimes easier just to drop me an email and say, hey, I need this. So you can go to the website, which is pickguardian.com. There's a link to email, or you can shoot me a email at info@pickguardian.com. If you want to see some of the projects that we talk about from time to time, go over to Instagram, and that's pickguardian and the number 1.
Awesome. Jared.
Well, if you guys need some pickups, if you have some old vintage pickups or pickups that need fixed, repaired, looked over, whatever, I'm very inexpensive and fast at that, and very good at those things. Also, if you want a new set of pickups, like some PAFs or some Stratocaster wide range, I now have noiseless Jazzmaster pickups. And
can you make those look old or new?
Oh yes, I could if you wanted to. And
Could you have one of each?
Ooh.
You can. And you can have different color covers and everything.
Nice.
But you can get them at a lower cost by punching in the code word HOME, and that'll get you 15% off.
Where should they go?
BrandonWoundPickups.com. Find me on Instagram too. I'm always posting cool rewinds there.
Yes, that's awesome too. All these good deals. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have a good deal for you because I'm not making anything, but I'm trying my best to make sure that me and the other 2 knobs here are bringing you people that do. So you can shoot me a message, Todd@theguitarknobs.com. You can DM me on Instagram at Guitar Knobs. We would love to hear from you. Send us your Would You Rather, please, because those are super fun.
Yeah.
And just give us a shout. Say hi. Do all those things. Mr. Nick Rogers from Dirty Haggard Audio, we're so thankful that you came on our show and we got to share your story with our audience.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great guitar week and subscribe!
Yeah.
I think you called me like a robot, like a swear word. You robot.
Oh, what did I even say? I don't even remember.
Oh, that's cool. It's taco cool, man. It's taco cool.
Taco cool. Really taco cool. Hope
Yeah,
it's
your dogs aren't on the
sufficient.
internet too much.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm not listening. I'm just noodling on my guitar.
I see. Yeah.
When you come back on, you talk super speed. It's like it's catching up to real time. It's
Maybe
really
you're
buffering.
catching up.
No.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.